Do you want to know how to discipline a high-functioning autistic child? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about discipline. In this video, we're going to be talking about autism and how autism can make some differences occur with the discipline that we choose in our families. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with autistic children, and then we're going to talk about how to set up a great way to discipline your autistic child in a way that will be comfortable for them and less painful for you too. I have 4 children of my own. They're all grown, and I'm also a grandma. I've got 3 with 1 on the way. And I also did therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens for a lot of years. So I was a therapeutic treatment care foster parent, so teens would come to live with me. The majority of those youth that came to my home were neurodiverse, having things like ODD, ADD, ADHD, RAD, FAS, ASD, so yes, autism. And I had to help them learn self-regulation, how to be a little bit more socially aware, which can be a little bit of a struggle sometimes, but also how to focus, how to work through their increased levels of anxiety. And I had to help prepare some of them to be able to launch off on their own. Some of those youth would stay with me until they were 18, and then they would time out. That's what it was called with the state, and that meant that, well, once you're 18, now we have to transition you to living on your own or living with roommates or something else. And so I would have to help them transition out of care to make room for another placement in my home for another youth that would be coming. We had a lot of foundation work we had to do since I knew that these autistic children were going to have to live on their own. I couldn't baby them. They had to be able to make it no matter where they were on the spectrum. Now I know there's a really big difference, of what people can accomplish, how hard things are for people depending on where they are on the spectrum. But regardless, what a person needs to know and the goals for the person usually are similar. So the main goals are, how can I prepare this person to function in normal adult society? How can I prepare them for relationship success? How can I prepare them to have a life that feels like purpose? And how can I prepare them to give some good back to society? How can I prepare them financially to be able to supply their own needs and take care of themselves? What is it that they're needing, and what do I still need to teach? No matter where somebody's at on the spectrum, we're going to be asking those same questions. In fact, we're going to ask those same questions about any of the children that come through our home. But of course, when somebody's on the spectrum, we oftentimes think, oh, but it's a little bit different because they process a little bit differently. They don't like this. They don't like this. This gives them anxiety. They don't like stepping out of this comfort zone. They have a hard time with social. They don't read social cues. There's all the different things that we see with an autistic child that we think are going to be barriers that might make it so that they can't fully achieve those goals that we would want for all adults. And even if they're slower, or even if maybe there are a few of those goals that they don't fully reach, if we keep pointing them in that direction, they can do a lot more than we think. So some of the youth in my home that were on the spectrum had to transition to solo adult living. That meant I had my work cut out for me. So of course, if the state is thinking of transitioning an autistic child to live off on their own, that means that child is probably high functioning. So how do you discipline a high functioning autistic child? What's the difference? Well, either way, we want to look toward the same goals that I already mentioned. But when a child is high functioning, you should be able to expect greater gains. There are things that they should be able to accomplish in a quicker amount of time. For instance, when you have a high functioning autistic child, then you can start teaching them the little nuances of social cues. You can start teaching them to recognize social cues, plan for the social cues. Even if they don't really know 100% what they're doing, they can see, oh, that's one sign that that person's giving me a message socially like that. So now I need to do that. You can take the things that we would normally intuitively learn, and you can say, here's how to break it down. I'm going to systematize this. In fact, your high-functioning autistic child loves systems. So anything that you can do to create a system for that child, the better. And if you can have a system of discipline, it's going to decrease their anxiety and help them take more ownership over their own behaviors. Now, if you have been watching this channel for a while, maybe you're subscribed to it, then you know that I talk a lot about skills. There are certain skills that are part of a good self-government education. So what is self-government? Self-government is you being able to give yourself instructions, you being able to give yourself no answers, you being able to self-correct and communicate effectively with other people. Anyone can do this. Toddlers can do this. So that means that high-functioning autistic children for sure can do this. And all of the youth that came to my home, we taught them the 4 basic skills. We also taught them some other skills that they would need for self-regulation and for success. And then we took those same skills and we broke them down into other systems that they would need for a few more fine-tuned things, like learning some of their social skills and social cues and planning for those things for their life. So having a plan is a big part of raising a autistic child. Honestly, it should be a part of raising any child, but if you have a high-functioning autistic child, all the more reason, have a plan and a structure. So let's talk about what the discipline would look like for your high-functioning autistic child. When your child does something that they shouldn't have done, we don't want to increase anxiety. So if you're pouring emotion at the problem, that's going to trigger them to go to the wrong part of the brain. It increases the anxiety. They go to midbrain, maybe even back brain. Suddenly they get overstimulated with themselves or maybe with you, and then they can't process as well. Now they're having a hard time solving their problems. So having everything be totally structured, completely predictable is really powerful. In fact, I would say that's one of the biggest parts of the teaching self-government system, is that everything's predictable, which decreases the anxiety so much. So what types of things do? You pre-teach first. Everything is pre-taught. It's pre-planned ahead of time. So that means that if I'm going to teach the 4 basic skills of self-government, then I'm going to teach them before they're ever needed. So let's say you already know they're needed. Well, then you would teach them now. Now these books right here, if your child is younger, maybe like 12, developmentally, okay, 12 or under, these children's books are a really great way to teach the 4 basic skills of self-government. They teach following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. When a person learns the steps to these 4 basic skills, that takes care of 99% of their behavioral problems. So that's actually a lot. And really this goes for people who are neurodiverse as well as neurotypical. If we learn the steps to following instructions, for instance, which there's 5 steps to following instructions. You look at the person or the situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, you say okay to the instruction. So maybe you're giving it to yourself or maybe somebody else is giving it to you. You say okay. Or you ask to disagree appropriately, which is another skill. Then you do the task immediately. That means you don't get sidetracked. You carry on all the way through. And then you check back at the end. So you go to the person or to yourself and you say, I did that. I brushed my teeth and flossed my teeth. Is there anything else? So then at that point, hopefully the person's going to get praised because they are going to be learning cause and effect through the parental skills that the parents use to help really consistently teach those principles and skills of self-government to the child. So there are certain skills that the parents need. There's at least 6 skills. There's 5 teaching styles, and then there's 1 skill related to your own parent calmness that I would consider those 5 to be the crucial skills for parents. I teach and train those in my course, my TSG parenting course, as well as in the parenting mastery trainings that I do. So if you have a child that is high functioning autistic and you're wanting a system of parenting for them that can be predictable, well, they will know exactly what you're going to say before you even say it. That actually is this system. This takes all the guesswork out. It makes it so that we don't need the emotional outbursts. We don't need to be asking tons and tons of questions. We have our communication pattern down. It shortens time on communication after a while, over the long haul. At the beginning, it adds a little bit more time on, which I know for autistic kids can sometimes be a little annoying. But after they get it down, they actually feel very secure about it, and they don't want anyone to break from it. They want to stick to it. They like the habit. They like the structure. There is one thing that happens with autistic kids that really needs to be mentioned, and that is that sometimes they just fast track it to the back brain. They stop cognitively sorting through things, and they just get very emotional. It almost looks like they're kind of outside of their own head. You're like, whoa, what's going on? And there seems to be a lot of like inner trauma that's happening in the brain because they're having a hard time processing all the pieces that they need to process at the time. So when that happens, it's important to have a calm plan for that child, to have a system or a process in place to help them be able to get back to the baseline of calmness and the baseline of being able to follow instructions from you and from themselves, because that is the base skill. If a person can't follow instructions, you actually can't parent them. It frustrates all of the roles and the whole dynamic of the family. So we have to make sure they learn that skill, learn how to follow through with it. But if they're not calm enough to even do that one skill, we've got to have a plan for how to get them to calmness. So this is what I call intensive teaching. And I do a lot of training on intensive teaching in the course that's on my website, TSG Parenting Course, and then also in the parenting mastery trainings that I do. There's also a support group that comes with both of those things where you can ask your questions as you're learning this process of self-government for your family. There are multiple autism websites who actually refer to teaching self-government, and therapists who refer to teaching self-government because of how predictable it is, how easy it is to follow through with when you're working with someone who is neurodiverse. This really is a great place for you to find yourself. It will take a little bit of time to learn the skills. There's some front-end work that you need to do, but then after that, you can help a person de-escalate, self-regulate, and get to a place where they can use their skills again. So if you would like to learn more about teaching self-government, if you want another taste, there's a great class. It's a full-length class. It's a video here on this channel called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. That could be a great thing for you to do next. Another next step could be just go to the website and maybe watch the whole video home visit that I did with a family who had neurodiverse kids, and see if you can see what it actually looks like in real time to put it in practice. There's also the trainings, like I mentioned, the courses and the trainings that are on there, and just to help you out, because I know there's all kinds of things that you can do with your time and money to help your children. There is a coupon code. If you type it in, you can use it one time. It's TSG Deals. So if you would like to use that coupon code, that can give you some money off your first order at teachingselfgovernment.com. So I'll see you there.